Hello everyone and welcome. In this recording, I'm going to be speaking about this upcoming new moon that we have in the sign of Taurus on the 19th of May 2023. Now, to be totally honest with you, this new moon is a little bit of a controversy because it can be seen in a very classical way under a lens of, let's say, somewhat superstition, but it can be seen as just another new moon. And I'm going to be mentioning a little bit about both because I cannot leave out the superstitious side of this energy because sometimes in life that also has a very symbolic meaning, if you know what I mean. So let us begin that this new moon takes place at 28 degrees 25 minutes of the sign of Taurus. Now it is almost anaretic. Anaretic meaning the 29th degree of any sign is considered to be a very intense, very energetic degree, a shadowy degree usually, where the energies tend to play out, or the symbolism of the planet, or whatever is happening there, tends to play out rather, as I said, intensely, depending on the situation, of course. Sometimes more dramatically, sometimes crisis, but many times it can mean a lot of positive. For example, a moment of courage with Mars, or a moment of great value with Venus. For example, one time hit. Well, that was a moment when the soul truly shined, but that was it. But as I said, the effects of that can last a very long time. So a new moon in this degree is usually quite intense. It is a strong creational energy. It is meant to bring something into existence. In Taurus, it is, of course, something that has to do with Venusian matters, material values, love, the five senses, pleasure, delight, need, money, finances, and stuff like that. And this new moon holds rather positive aspects with Mars and with Neptune. So that is really, really good news for everyone because it means that a sextile, what we input into it, well, we get that back. That works. That we make our own blessings basically, especially with Neptune in the realm of Pisces, where it is the divine, it is creativity, it is spirit, it is our attitude, it is the tinted glass that we're looking through. Now, sometimes rose tinted is not so counterproductive because it gives us, like, let's say, false hopes or is not really aligning us into something all that material. But if we kind of still add a little bit of color, that can work under this Neptune because this dream energy, this optimism, I am going to make it, or I feel, I dream, my inner senses are all screaming at me that I'm gonna make it, or an infusion of spirit, let's say, well, that has very, very positive effects because this is truly like planting the seed of intention, the new moon. And Taurus is usually the earth, the soil, the fertile soil full of flora and everything. So planting the seed of intention is very, very symbolic at this moment. But this Neptune in the sign of Pisces can be the water. It can be the spray that we immediately apply onto the seed when we plant it. It can, and this Mars, Mars itself energetic in the sign of Cancer. Mars can mean the fertilizer, it can mean the growth substance, the nutrients. Neptune can sometimes even mean all of this symbolically to be understood, of course, where we a little bit cheat nature. use some kind of substance which makes the seed grow even quicker, or we add conditions to it to make the seed feel much more, at home. Mars in the sign of Cancer, and the growth is there. And the growth, usually energetic, is very, very quick. Mars in energetic degree tends to, be its most intense self. So that's quick energy. That's like a discharge. Now, Mars energetic in the sign of Cancer, collectively speaking, may mean intensity. We're all fighting Mars, or protecting or feeling this energy of our families, where we belong to, whatever it is that we love, ancestors. So everything that is Cancerian, self-conservation, nurture, self-healing, self-everything, self-sufficiency. The protective Cancer shell. And of course, Cancer is emphasized by Venus also being in this part of the sky, and some asteroids as well. Well, if we want, let's look at the asteroids as well. Oh, I'm mistaken. The asteroids have moved on into the sign of Leo by this time. So, yes, it's just Venus and Mars in the sign of Cancer. I'll put the asteroids back a little bit later on. But Venus is sufficient because she is actually quite powerful and quite comfortable in the sign of Cancer. So this emphasizes this Cancerian shell energy, the containment. Mars doesn't like it, but in this situation, it will definitely fight for its territory. And we will see this play out on the world stage in one way or another, politically, legally, people's attitudes, etc., etc. Uh, Neptune, on the other hand, is at 27 degree of Pisces, a degree which is very, very close to April 2022's conjunction where it met Jupiter and Venus. So this brings on that magic that was basically stirred up back then. Such a conjunction between Jupiter and Neptune, well, it is rare in a certain way. It doesn't happen every year. It happens once every 12 years, but in the manner it took place back then, well, it and in the sign of Pisces, of course, that made it very, very rare. So such an important conjunction, well, of course, it influences everything and everyone, especially everyone, because these are big planets, so collective energy, most of all. The influence is there in the world of art, spirituality, psychology, collective attitude, truth seeking, what's real, what's not, collective psychological manipulation like adverts, social media, TV, mainstream media, all of that. So that was the more immediate play out, but this energy will always echo whenever something touches it. And right now it's actually Neptune, because Neptune moves very, very slowly. So we will see that magic somehow be part of this new moon, or we can make it part of that new moon. And what do I mean when I say magic? Well, what has happened in your life in April 2022 and in the following weeks, even months? What stirred deep inside of you, or where it was this 27 degree, 25, 27 degree of Pisces in your personal chart, which area of life? But it is still a Piscean expression. So we felt it emotionally, we felt it even unconsciously, subconsciously, in the dreams, in feeling, in state, in attitude. So something was, as I said, stirred up within us. And usually it has to have a positive expression as well. Usually the more negative was, of course, like Pisces is the realm of traumas and family stuff, the distant past, what is deep within me, family dynamics, family constellations, if you will. There's that side, but there is the really positive side, the whisper of creativity, of the muses, inspiration, art, discovering yourself, discovering your faith, connecting with spirit through your own unique mean. Because especially that Venus was here, Venus added her magic. Venus being very, very comfortable, exalted in an exaltation degree in the sign of Pisces, where she was in that April 2022. So if you recall what has been stirring up in your life, what dreams did you have, what aspirations, goals, ideals, what kind of went on if you apply that to this new moon, well, it can bring something really, really positive and favorable. Now, even though, as I said, this should be a really nice energy due to the sextiles, and especially that it's fertile, it's creational, it's productive. It is the right thing that can birth new, for example, even business ideas, because Mercury at this moment, at the moment of the new moon, is direct already, but still conjunct the North Node in Taurus. Mercury can bring the ideas. Uranus is also in the sign of Taurus. Uranus can mean the higher mind, the epiphany of it before it's processed on a mercurial level. All and sometimes because Uranus is the ruling planet of Aquarius, it means social connections, but the randomness, the chaotic way, the coincidences, so the synchronicities, not to forget that Uranus it is his modus operandi. That's how it connects together future business partners, future whatever. So Uranus also brings the Uranian creative element to it. So yes, this can end. The most important part is that Taurus is really, really highlighted at that moment because Jupiter also is dipped into the sign of Taurus. So Jupiter is already at that 0 degree, the initiatory degree, the in zero, even in the tarot, is the fool, the new beginning, the leap of faith. We don't have all that much, but what does the fool have? And enthusiasm, maybe nothing to lose, and a lot of faith, a lot of imagination. Jupiter is all of that, really. So the sign of Taurus is highlighted and expanded by Jupiter. So what a new moon. It should be truly, you know, kind of fantastic, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, there is a lot of intensity in the sky because, as I said, firsthand, Mars and erratic, so there's unrest, collectively at least. And there might be even unrest within us. Where does this Cancer fall into your chart? But then it moves into Leo very, very quickly, very soon after this new moon. And in the sign of Leo, Mars is very comfortable. Fire meets fire. It is intense, it is powerful, it is quick, it is radical, it truly makes a stand. Courageous, brave, bold, whatever you want. A little bit egocentric, even. But this might not be the best possible circumstance because as it enters the sign of Leo, it begins holding the opposition with Pluto. Pluto being at 0 degrees of Aquarius, of course, retrograde. Now, Pluto, when it converses in such a way, in a hard aspect with the planet, it usually takes away its power, its strength. It makes the symbolism of the planet be more or less as much powerless as it can possibly be. And Pluto and Mars also have another relationship because both of these planets co-rule the sign of Scorpio. Mars being its ancient ruler, and Pluto, sorry, the modern ruler. And of course, Scorpio is very important because both of these planets will start holding the square and aspect of tension with the North Node in the sign of Scorpio, which means also with the South Node in Scorpio and North Node in Taurus. So they will start squaring the nodal axis. So that forms the fixed Grand Cross. So shortly after this new moon, the fixed Grand Cross is starting to activate. And of course, Jupiter. Pluto will square Jupiter. Then, after Mars moves into Leo, it will also square Jupiter. So, this is very intense. This is not easy. This is not comfortable. There is a sense that we truly need to change. This is where the hammer, the huge, demolishing hammer, is given into our hands. Go demolish. Even if we dreamed of demolishing whatever is being demolished for years, even if we do it with a smile on our faces and with full excitedness, the act of demolishing, as pleasurable in the example that I used as it may be, it's not comfortable. It's hard work. And demolishing is, maybe just the full moment, the zero, because then we have to rebuild or make something with whatever has been demolished. And this new moon does actually speak about that, where, creational energy, growth, something, comes into existence which needs to service on the long term Taurus. But maybe what fuels it, what feeds it, or what it grows from is something that is being demolished, because one of the other aspects that this new moon holds is a conjunction with the fixed star Algol, and Algol does not have the best reputation. It is considered the evil star, demonic star, heads fall, etc., etc. In other, you know, esoteric perceptions, it is seen as guilt, as shame, as cruelty to the self, as isolation, possessiveness, extreme greed, extreme vanity, as in the symbolism of Mammon in that sense. So, a new moon on this fixed star. Now, the best possible manifestation of this is what I mentioned earlier. South Node in Scorpio. So something, the demolishing, whatever. So it is being released, something is bye-bye. And also, South Node in Scorpio applies to our wisdom. However we are doing things right now in our lives, however we're using this energy, it doesn't matter on what level, we must make sure not to do again, use again, live again, conjure up again, create the circumstances that truly, let's say, disadvantaged us, hurt us, caused us scorpionic pain in the past. So we must do whatever it is that we are doing with a lot of wisdom. Because ultimately, Scorpio, that is its role in the sky, to alchemize things, to turn something deadly poisonous, let's say totally incompatible with nurturing life, to something tolerable. The best example for this, how many natural remedies, and even not just natural remedies, things they use in the pharmaceutic world, are made from like snake venom, spider venom, scorpion venom, centipede venom. You know, it's full. Venom is alchemy. So that is what the South Node calls upon us. And another expression of this energy, if something is resurrecting, being reborn in your life, fatedly, there is us trying to stop it. As in, no, I'm not doing it again, never again. I'm saying stubbornly, no, 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 not me. I'm not falling for that again. Despite us knowing that it's fated. For example, an ex comes back into our lives, but we cannot fault anything because the person truly became all of our expectations, or something miraculously. But we can have the stubbornness to say no. Now, in this sense, it's a resurrection. If it's divinely orchestrated, and it might go against, not looking back, not uh, releasing the past, non-attachment and all of that, purging out the past. But when it's in a way fatedly brought back, resurrected, despite your efforts to not do this, well, then it means that, the universe is actually telling you that this needs to be part of your journey. Would you be wise to accept? It cannot really force you, but there is such a grand cross. If something needs to resurrect, as I said, an ex, so a relationship, a job, a career, a hobby, modus vivendi, anything really, and it's really fated because it just comes and resurrects like a phoenix before your eyes. Well, then we are called upon not to try and stop this or oppose this or go against this in a rigid and fixed and immovable way, because it will be just going against fate and nothing good ever happens from that. Especially if we're permitted to do so, we will definitely gonna regret it. So this is the wisdom that we have to use and apply. If something is truly resurrecting, well, that kind of means that it's a value that Taurus new moon has to stay with your, it's immortal, and that which is immortal for your soul, for your life, for the person who you are, whatever, then it's not really susceptible to elimination, just transformation, purification. This is where a diamond, if it is processed a little bit, worked a little bit, it grows in value and beauty and shine and whatever. There are certain things in our lives like that. And if something like that resurrects, then it resurrects for us to truly embrace it and enjoy it. So this is one of the examples when we our stubbornness to accept something that the divine dished out can be the way to, make this grand cross really difficult for us, because that is also opposing to change, because maybe the element is not all that new, it comes from the past ultimately, but the way it is lived, received, and used, that is totally different. That is changed. That is transformed. But anyway, there is, because of this algol, a totally different way to look at this energy. This is where the sextile can be seen as strong ambition, Neptune as, in a way, a bit of delusion. We're a bit delusional in whatever we need to create, new moon, or achieve, or make part of our lives, perhaps eliminate from our lives. That can also be, new moon energy, because we can be given the tools, and any new moon means the darkness of the moon. So before the exact you know, darkness of the new moon, there is the moon sickle that is used to cut out stuff like an operation. And in the sign of Taurus, especially with Algol, because Algol in mythology can represent the head of Medusa, who was beheaded by the hero Perseus. And her beheading, well, freed Pegasus, the symbol of her true innocence, dreams, imagination, the maiden within her, from the prison of the Gorgon. So we can also look at the cutting outside of this energy. Whatever are we are, slaying symbolically to release the innocence. And where I'm going with this is if we're a bit over ambitious or if we're a bit delusional and Mars and erratic, well, yes, that can also be way too hyped by feeling, by emotion, an inner emotional storm. And Mars is in between Cancer and Leo, so it's boiling. The passion is spurring up from deep within, like sub how you call this, oceanic or submarine, sub no, under the sea volcano. It's water, but it's fire and it's heat, and it really does a lot of damage if you want to look at it like that. So that's how we also have that Mars. We must be careful not to overdo it, not to be basically giving into some kind of delusion, some kind of, and Mars and Neptune trine. Whatever the feeling is, we get almost literally. And where I want to go with this is alcohol. Things born under the influence of alcohol usually meet big success quickly and have such an equally, if not more painful and bitter downfall. Because, as I said, vanity, greed, all of these elements, well, these guarantee their own downfall. So, this is the danger. Because if it's fueled by darkness in that sense, well, it is going to be very, very powerful, but it immediately condemns itself. So we must make sure to take that into consideration, to have a certain kind of balance, and to be in a certain kind of clarity, moral clarity, emotional clarity, spiritual clarity, psychological clarity, to be able to observe the self and basically what we're conjuring up, because that's what it kind of means. But going back, so all of this is under the fixed grand cross. So it is going to be an intense moment. It is not going to be as easy as I made it sound, especially with, whatever it is that we are birthing there, with that new, or eliminating. But when we are eliminating, we have to birth the tool of elimination, if you know what I mean. Or we have to birth whatever has to take its place, and then we can easily let it go, if you know what I mean. So there is more way to solving a problem. If there is something in our lives that's old and stale, but there is a dependency there, codependency in relationships, for example, or whatever, well, termination, just like that, can be sometimes actually impossible. It can be like a dead end, boxed in fully. I can get rid of the job, I can get rid of the schedule, my business, the relationship, whatever. I can, because there's codependency there. You just cannot find either the inner strength, the opportunity, the setup, etc. to make a move in any way, shape, and form. Then one of the ways to solve the problem, metaphysically, spiritually, or practically, in a very concrete way, like ask for help, friends, family, etc., get something new to take its place. And then the codependency immediately ends because something already met you. So there is that side of this energy as well. But because of this alcohol, it's how we look at it and how we take it, especially under this grand cross, either we slay the monster or we become the monster. But I think we slay the monster. Because, sex sells. Mars gives us the courage. Mars gives us the love of others. We are supported. Neptune gives the divine inspiration, the divine guidance, everything that divine Neptune gives. And the dream and, the power of prophecy. Jupiter squaring Pluto, prophecy. Jupiter is all about prophecy. Even in mythology, Jupiter was prophesied to triumph, basically. So, of course, his self expression, if we can even apply this term to demigods, well, it was Pisces. Was the ancient ruling planet of Pisces. It was like a continuous flow. It just flowed there. And Jupiter, if I'm not mistaken, according to some legends, was even put in a basket and carried by a river, or maybe I am mistaking it with something else, but the flow was always part of his life. So moving on, let us look a little bit at the asteroids at this moment. So Mars is starting to enter Leo, and Leo is hosting Black Moon Lilith on one hand, and then Pallas Athena. So, the heart is definitely ready to make moves because Lilith makes the heart rebellious, makes it active, makes it strong. I know what I feel and I'm acting upon it. This is one type of not the gut feeling. No, the feeling in the heart and in the gut is definitely there. And Pallas Athena, intelligent heart, tactical heart. If tactics do not work, then force works. But Pallas Athena is also, the daughter of Oracle, prophetess. If so, intelligent heart, which is one step ahead of the future, if you know what I mean. And the other asteroid that I want to look at is Sedna. New moon conjunct the Sedna. Very, very symbolic. Because Sedna is making her way out of Taurus. So Sedna is all about attachment. We need to release attachments. But Sedna is also about the power of sacrifice. Sometimes, especially here with alcohol, grief, pain, everything that basically hurt us, well, can be transformed into something positive. If not anything else, fertile energy, soil, whatever, for our future. Wisdom, power, experience, and a certain kind of self confidence which is built on having survived deep, deep pain. And it doesn't matter which kind of pain, physical, emotional, spiritual, psychological, material, it doesn't matter what. That is already a power. Having survived it with dignity, with grace, having humbled you, that is one level up the scale. But surely having gone through that gives a certain kind of power, it gives a certain kind of wisdom, and even spiritual gravity. Because in the symbolically eyes of the universe, you went through something extremely difficult, and it doesn't matter why. You're a veteran. Veterans are righteously so treated a little bit differently, exactly because they went through a lot. So there is also this energy, that wisdom, that experience, that power that matters quite a lot. So this kind of concludes this recording about this new moon. Uh, Before I end it, I would like to just say a couple of words collectively speaking. Well, Algol, if something rises in a millisecond shortly after this new moon, well, we can expect just as quick downfall. Yet, another expression of this energy, what is falling, what is being crumbled down to its components. For example, leading institution, leader, the head of, top of, whatever falls around this time, that is the food. The ruins of that, or the loss of that, that is basically that the sacrifice that person, institution, whatever had to offer back to the earth. And the earth is everyone else collectively. So that means food for everyone else. So this is where something big is sacrificed on purpose because times, the fixed grand cross, demands it. So this is usually good news because something is given. Now, of course, it will play out in the world stage, Pluto in Aquarius. That means two expressions operating at the same time. So something is given, but it is given because there are austerity measures or big austerity risk there, because Pluto brings the opposite as well. So there is austerity, the energy of austerity there. But in order to either get out of austerity or to endure austerity much more comfortably, or better said, Uranus in the sign of Taurus. There is austerity, yet there is a way where we won't really feel it, if you know what I mean. We can, you know, improve it. Uranus brings the ingenuity. Karma, fate, whatever brings the austerity, the scarcity, cut downs, yet our higher mind, our higher self collectively can make it for all of us feel not all that special in a bad sense, as in not crisis, not doom and gloom. And why? Because something is willingly sacrificed. Like when there's famine, well, the fattest pig, goose, chicken, whatever is gonna be the first, if you know what I mean. And after its remains are consumed, maybe the austerity is over already, and no other animal or whatever reserve, let's say, has to be sacrificed, if you know what I mean. So I do hope that this is the way it will play out on the world stage, because there is something really, really positive and good in anything bad. So, the symbolism of Algol. No, if there is imminent problem, no problem, a small sacrifice, and sacrifice does buy time, patience, understanding. Oh, and I am so glad I said this because the Sabian symbol of the degree is also quite suggestive that it can be quite positive, and it can be a sacrifice that serves everyone. Why? Because the Sabian symbol says that two cobblers work at a table. Now, cobbler, if I'm not mistaken, is the person who fixes shoes or footwear. And I think my grandpa was that, but he was a shoemaker. Anyway, sorry about this. Um, this symbol is so suggestive because it means cooperation, it means tolerance, it means understanding respect out of need. Two cobblers. Everyone needs the personal space, the tools. Those two people, before their business, their work ethic, or whatever, can be more okay, at least okay, they will need to share. They will need to learn respect where when a person uses one item, the other person has to make it its own routine to use another to create a cooperation, a synergy. So this is very, very positive because the work is not easy, absolutely, but the need for productivity creates, as I said, tolerance, acceptance, cooperation. This is where they put the lower ego aside. Taurus, the lowest expression is the lower ego. Mine, I don't want to, I'm not in the mood, oh, it hurts, I'm tired, I don't feel like it. This is the dark side of Taurus, really. When comfort is the demon, or when mood is the demon. Because mood, you might say, well, isn't that Cancer? Not necessarily. Because feeling it, yes, yes. But no one says that water sign, water energy, will express it ever. It says it feels it. Taurus, the voice, really, the immediately, you know, sometimes do love Taurus natives because they express it perfectly simultaneously as they feel it. They didn't even have the millisecond to process it, and they said it somehow. Oh, like one of the best phrases, and this is a bit silly, it's not all that warm. When Taurus native senses the cold and action needs to be taken there and then, this is usually the key phrase. It's not all that warm. It's a bit chilly, isn't it? That kind of means create heat. Either bring me the sweater, turn the heating up, close the window, create the condition immediately as a now. But it is expressed in such a really nice way. But simultaneously, they didn't even process it, but they're expressing what they feel, what they sense. So anyway, that is the lowest expression. That is what can never ever happen at a work table or when you have a cooperative work. This is where everyone needs to be endurant, tolerant, and basically empathic enough to truly understand the other person. Because there is a goal which is really higher than the two egos. And the best example of this, the most positive version, is when those two cobblers, or I would like to say any worker really, who share a workspace, work table, when they're so understanding of each other to a level of mastery where they can basically communicate in ways which seems to everyone else miraculous almost, that they're telepathic, that they know each other's thoughts, that they anticipate each other's needs in everything already. Well, it's not all that much miraculous. It is more like a form of mastery, you know? Because that person is basically it's almost like the self. Because your work needs that person to be productive. So that person is part of already, you will live in the illusion that it's almost like something internal. And that illusion gives the mastery, the power. Of course, we know that person's every thought because we need that person to be okay, if you know what I mean. So, this is the best possible example. Something is sacrificed, but for truly for the greater good. So, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for all the love, all the support, all the really, really loving comments, especially Zoe. And I'm so sorry I didn't have the opportunity to answer properly. Thank you everyone for the love and support.